What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick. If you're waiting for the waiter, does that make you the waiter? Kackis here, and today we've got some brand spankin' new Destiny 2 news, courtesy of the Bungie weekly update that has just gone live, unveiling official information. And so, let's get started. Now, first things first, before we talk about the information in the TWAB, something else happened today. Destiny 2 was actually down for maintenance for quite a while early in the morning, and that was to set up the brand new patch Hotfix 3.3.0.3. So, most of the changes added were pretty minor. For example, they fixed another Telesto glitch and so on, but here's some things you should know about. In terms of Trials of Osiris, which is going to start tomorrow for the weekend, special ammo will no longer refresh upon your resurrection. They added a hold to purchase functionality to gear purchasable from Saint 14 in order to prevent accidental purchases, and also the weapons that you get from your reputation rank track, so the weapons you actually, see specifically from Saint 14 will now be able to be masterworked, and that's obviously an important change. Another important thing to know is that adept weapon mods for impact, charge time, and blast radius and projectile speed were previously only acquirable from Trials of Osiris, and now they're going to be able to be acquired in Grandmaster Nightfalls, which are coming later, and raids in addition to Trials. But something else this hotfix apparently did was that if you go to the Wayfinder's compass, there's actually brand new elemental mods now available. It's Void and Stasis, whereas before today's update, it was just Void. So you have an opportunity to buy some of these new mods, and especially the Stasis mod that turns your Stasis shards into elemental wells. Whew, I got a build video coming on that. It is nutty. But moving on from there, let's talk about the information within the TWAB. So Bungie spends a lot of time talking about Trials of Osiris because there was quite literally a Destiny 2 community civil war over this past week, and that's because there was a huge positive reception for the first week of Trials of Osiris in Season of the Lost. Huge changes, and we saw the biggest Trials of Osiris population in Destiny 2 history, the most games played ever, and that includes Destiny 1 Trials of Osiris, but the big complaint was that the more casual players, especially if you were solo queuing or duo queuing, you would queue against a full team and get stomped. There was a lot of 5-0 matches. So to address this, Bungie introduced a flawless pool. So if you went flawless, you were in this new flawless pool and it would try to match you with other flawless people. The issue and why people got upset was that even if you reset your card, it would stay. So you go flawless, you lose one time, you're like, it is what it is, we'll restart. For that next card, even though you're on 0 wins, you're still going to be matching, better players than normal. And so for a lot of average players, this really did hurt them, and we're actually going to go over the data. But for a lot of casual players, this was perfect. Like, as the weekend went on, that initial player pool got easier and easier and easier. But which side was right? Well, let's actually look at some data here that Bungie just released. Firstly, in terms of solos, for week 1, solo wins comprised 23% of games. So definitely you're up against it if you're a solo player, and blowouts, where you lost 5-0, was 38% of games. But for week 2, when this flawless pool was enabled, the wins went up to 36% of games, and the blowouts went down to 29% of games. Bungie actually says long-term they want to keep the solo win rate above 30% and the blowout rate below 33%. Some more interesting data. In week 1, they saw 60% of matches end at either 5-0 or 5-1, and in week 2, the number of non-competitive matches dropped to 52%, a nice improvement, but they say they would want that number to 30 or 40% in the long term. However, of course, the downside of them trying to get these numbers is that you can get bad connections and incredibly long matchmaking times. Thankfully, Bungie does say that the matchmaking times were still low in both weeks, and the average was steady at just under 50 seconds per match. That's definitely not too bad, but that is still, kind of long compared to other first-person shooters. Interestingly, Bungie says the only reason it's even that high at 50 seconds is because players who started off on a terrible terrible streak would end up in a matchmaking pool below the base pool that only looked for other players who had started off losing 10 rounds in a row. It's a small matchmaking pool with times that last over 4 minutes before the system gives up and expands back to the base pool. And that's something I didn't even know. So apparently, if you just throw your first 2 games, you're going to be put into this extra easy pool. It could be exploitable. It could definitely be a great way for new players to get started and to stop the frustration for getting stomped over and over again. That's actually a really interesting piece of information. Now, some more data to support the flawless pool is that they had over 700,000 players this weekend, which is only 50,000 less than week 1. And games were 10% longer on average, and that's likely due to them actually being competitive and not just being 5-0s. However, if you're thinking, oh, the flawless pool was a great success, there was some downsides in terms of the data, and thankfully Bungie shared that as well. So the big one was that they saw 34% less matches played overall, and the number of matches played post-flawless dropped by 45%, which indicates that the first weekend people played flawless, were having fun, and kept playing. This weekend, they went flawless, they went into the matchmaking pool, and it sucked the fun out of the playlist for them, so they quit. Additionally, they had reports of significant numbers of players resetting at 5-0 or 6-0 cards, but we saw around 16,000 total cards that were reset while flawless but under 7 wins. Given the vast number of games and cards played, 2.7 million cards, it's a lot, but this is something that they're watching because that was the way to abuse this flawless system. Be a good player and just reset at 6 wins. Additionally, and this is a crazy stat, normally they see 50% of the players who go flawless doing it with someone else who has already been flawless, right? Your friend who's good at PvP, a carry, etc. And last week, the first week, it was 56%. So this week, it was 16%. That is unbelievably low. That is a massive difference, 56 to 16%. And this is, they say, unacceptably low for friend game content. And the reason for that is because, and I experienced this personally, once a friend would go flawless, they were essentially damaged goods. No one would want to play with that person because they would make the entire team go into the flawless pool. So people who hadn't been flawless were trying to bunch up, and it really did kind of separate friend groups who did stuff at different times. So to address this, here are the changes that are coming tomorrow, week 3. So they're waiting until Sunday morning reset at 10 a.m. Pacific to enable the flawless pool. This is going to serve as a middle ground between 1 and 2 and is the semi-permanent placement for enabling the flawless pool. And they're looking on some more deeper matchmaking solutions, which we hope lets us remove the flawless pool, and they're gonna look out for that mid to late October. But also, we are turning off matchmaking help until you have played at least 2 matches during the weekend. Okay, so that is really, really interesting. So Friday and Saturday, it's going to be like week 1. You can farm to your heart's content. If you go flawless, the game won't quote unquote punish you to do so. But if you are a low skill player, that may be the time to avoid the playlist. And then Sunday reset, the flawless pool is enabled. So likely if you've gone flawless before, you'll all be put into this pool. So the pool is going to start out pretty big. That was another one of the issues, is that Friday night, it was super sweaty and it got less and less sweaty as more people went flawless and the pool got bigger. So I think this is a good middle ground. I think this is addressing both concerns because frankly, both sides are right. You shouldn't have a brand new player getting stomped by Grenadier Jake on the first game, right? But also, if you go flawless, you should be able to play with your friends without ruining their experience. Hopefully this is a good middle ground that helps everybody. And if all those changes weren't enough, there's another big change coming tomorrow, and that is the normal playlist is actually going to be replaced with Trials Labs Capture Zone. And this new mode will still be elimination, but with the following changes. So 30 seconds after the round starts, a capture zone is enabled. Players can capture this zone to win the round or just eliminate the other team like normal. The capture zone has a waypoint from round start, including a countdown timer, so everyone will know exactly where it will be. And the capture zone starts in the middle of the map in the first round and changes location each round. The team who just lost gets the advantage spawn location. So they're looking for feedback to see if this is better than normal elimination, if this is a nice change, or if it's worse. But also keep in mind that this is the last week of Trials for a little bit because Bungie says next week Iron Banner is actually back. So after this week, the next time Trials will be available is October 8th. Moving on from there, something cool Bungie is doing is a digital fashion magazine dedicated to showcasing the fabulous style of Guardians. And this is your time to shine in the first edition of Threads of Light. So here it is, and what they're doing is that they've partnered with 3 Guardians who had previously created their own fashion looks to highlight on our first cover. They pose for cameras and outlined their looks for you to recreate. The next time you're on the red carpet, be ready to answer the question, who are you wearing? Either Numbly, Muffin Bandit, or Vanguard Vogue. So here's what that's going to look like. We're going to go through these 3 different Guardians. So essentially, they showcase their styles to Bungie. Bungie recreates them and tells exactly what they were using and puts them in this kind of awesome fashion magazine, and you can actually end up in this fashion magazine as well. So you have to share a screenshot of your Guardian's appearance and use the hashtag Threads of Light on Instagram or Twitter. You can also tag at Destiny the Game or their account in your region, and they're going to be picking the winners on September 30th. So this is kind of their new way to do the fashion show, is they have this kind of official magazine, which is really cool. It highlights just how incredible the fashion game in Destiny has got thanks to transmogrification. And guys, the last thing to talk about is that there's some brand new Prime Gaming rewards. So the Dark Horse Exotic Sparrow, the Bandwagon Exotic Ship, the Rusted Punk Shell Exotic Ghost, and the Hold On Legendary Emote. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me, follow me on Twitter at RickKackis. And again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.